Happy Monday, knitters. I'm Louise from Wildflower Wool, and welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time you're stopping by, welcome. And if you've been here before, I'm so glad that you have come back to see what I am casting on this week. You will find me right here every Monday with a brand new video showing you 2 new cast-ons that I'm going to work on this upcoming week. First cast on is going to be a dishcloth because I have a goal of knitting 1 dishcloth a week. I'm joined Amber, the Yarn Hoarder's Dishcloth Challenge, which is trying to get 1 done a week, or a total of 52 for the end of the year. The second project is just going to be a random project using some yarn under my stash. I'm not necessarily guaranteeing I'm going to finish these projects every week, but if you jump back here again at the last Friday of the month, I will show you my finishes for the month. So let me show you right off the bat what my dishcloth is going to be. You'll know I've been talking about this Knit Picks Dishy yarn, and the colorway is Ash, that has just been knitting forever and ever and ever. There is so much yardage in those balls, you guys. But this week, I'm going to finish up this ball. I've got my scale here. Let's just weigh it again. I think, did I say it was 8 ounces? I've got 8 ounces left. I'm going to start with this color, and I'm going to make sure that this ball gets finished this week. The pattern I'm going to use is my super simple diamond dishcloth pattern. It's an easy peasy pattern, perfect for new knitters. It's a free download on Ravelry. If you're new and would like to knit along with me, jump over there and grab a copy for yourself, add it to your library. It does have 3 links to some of my YouTube videos for a cast on, how to do the knit stitch, and how to do the knit front and back increase. Great reference if you're new and just starting out. So if you think that pattern will help you, feel free to go over there and get it and knit along with me, and leave me a comment down below if you are knitting it with me, or if you're knitting any dishcloths this week, because I need the encouragement. So I've got 8 grams here. I've also pulled out some other little random balls, and I can tell by the feel of them that they all, I'm pretty sure, I know that they are all Bernat Handicrafter. A variegated, this is like a purple and yellow, a solid, like, I don't know if that's like, I guess it's purple or periwinkle, and a pink and a gray, a little teeny weeny little bit of pink. I cannot seem to throw any yarn away, you guys. I need to knit every last little bit. So I'm going to just incorporate this pink. I'll make sure this pink gets used up too. And then, of course, my favorite, some orange, yellow, and white. So I don't know what any of these color names actually are because the ball bands are long gone. But let's weigh them all together with the dishy just to see where we are. Uh-oh. Hold on, my pink ran away. Okay, so this on the scale too. 52 grams of yarn. I think that's going to be way lots to knit a dishcloth. So I've got also have 2 of my finished ones that I showed on my Finished Friday video. I will just weigh these just so we have an idea. 27 grams. You guys, this, and I know it's a little smaller. If I was to do this again, I might add a couple more stitches on, make it a little bigger. 27 grams. That's not a lot of yarn. Let's check this one. This is the 2-color granite stitch, and it's just 33 grams, just 5 grams more. So I'm not even going to need all of those little bits. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have little bits. They're gonna hold over to next week's dishcloth. Oh my goodness, this yarn is not knitting up as quickly as I wanted it to. But that's okay, because then that means I'm going to get 52 dishcloths, or possibly even more. Anyways, I haven't cast that on yet because I wanted to weigh the yarn. I will probably use a 3.5 millimeter needle with a worsted weight yarn because I like my dishcloths to be knit fairly tight, and because I'm a loose knitter, so I always like to go down a needle size. So I will cast that on, and I will post some pictures on Instagram and on the Wildflower Wool Facebook page too, if you want to see my progress and see which colors I'm working in here to magically use up all these little pieces. My second cast on for this week is just using this random ball of yellow yarn that was up in my studio room. There's no ball band with this. I think it's wool, but I'm not even, the more I feel it, the more I'm thinking it's not. I could try and do a burn test on it. Ooh, maybe I could film that. Have you ever tried doing the burn test to see what's wool and what's acrylic? It's pretty interesting. You know what? Maybe I will try it and film it. If it's acrylic, the yarn will go up in a flame, it'll be burnt in a second. You need to do it. Don't try this at home. Watch me do it first. But if you do it over your sink. The last time I did it over my bathroom sink. And I would suggest cut a big tail of yarn because the acrylic does burn really quick and it drips. It is, I don't even know what to call it. It's really kind of disgusting actually. But if it's wool, it will burn, but if you take it away from the flame, it'll smolder, it'll flame a little bit and smolder, and then it'll go out. It does not keep burning the way acrylics do. So I could do a burn test on this. But regardless, whatever it is, I am going to knit this into a mitt. So I have this cast on. And I put on 36 stitches. Again, I'm following I had kind of a series of super simple patterns, and this is in no means, I'm not meaning to plug my patterns. I just thought, maybe I should knit from my own patterns, but it is a purchase pattern on Ravelry. But I'm going to give you, we're going to talk a little bit right here and now about, do you adjust patterns or do you not, or how do you go about it? The pattern that I wrote for this is just using one set of stitch numbers. It's casting on 36 stitches. And then in the notes part of the pattern, I talk about how do you adjust the size if you want it bigger or smaller. In it, I suggest just changing your needle size. If you've knit a few pair of mitts and you're comfortable with where to place the thumb and doing the thumb increases, then you can probably play around if you want to make this a little bit bigger or smaller. But if this is your first pair of mitts, it's not as simple as just adding and taking away stitches when you have to place the thumb in your pattern. Now I put this on, when I cast on here, the reason I'm talking already about adjusting this is when I looked at it, I thought, does this look a little bit big? I mean, a cuff of a mitt, you want it to be pretty snug. And I'm thinking, this looks pretty big. And if I hold my wrist up to it, okay, see that? Like, look at how much excess I have over here. This is one of those times where on one hand I'm saying, Louise, listen to your gut instinct and I should go down a needle size. I'm using a 3.75. And don't laugh, or if you already have been, you probably noticed I have a mishmash of needles here. I was looking through my DPNs and I've got wood, I've got plastic, I have metal. And this wood guy is a short needle. This one up here is really long. But you know what? None of that matters. The most important thing is that they are all a 3.75 millimeter needle. And I apologize because I'm not very good with the US sizes and I meant to look it up before I started filming and I didn't. So I'm not sure what the US size is for this, but it's a little bit smaller than what I would normally knit, or what most people would normally knit a worsted weight yarn with. Usually a worsted weight yarn is a 4.5 millimeter, which is a US 7, I know that, or a 5 millimeter, which I believe is a US 8. But I knit loose, so I always go down a needle size anyways, because I knit so loose. My mitts, I want knit really tightly because I don't want the wind blowing through them. So I usually go down even a needle size farther down. It's not uncommon for me to knit my mitts on a 3.5 millimeter. And these are one size bigger than that because I couldn't find 5. I need to do a little, either do a little more digging to find some more needles, or I need to finish some and get my needles back. So that's why I thought, they're not my 3.5 I would usually use. 3.75 is pretty close. And this yarn is actually, I'm not sure, it feels a little bit heavier, maybe more like an Aran weight than a worsted weight. So I thought the yarn's a little bigger. If I use a little bit bigger needles, it might even out, right? But I've cast on those 36 stitches and I'm thinking it's a little big. I am going to keep going because sometimes when you're knitting ribbing, once it does look big at the beginning, once you get a little bit more done, the ribbing part takes over, that stretch that where it pulls itself in. That can sometimes take a little bit before that pulling in effect happens. So I'm not sure. The moral of the story is I was going to say don't trust the pattern, but that's not exactly what I wanted to say, especially since I wrote my very own pattern. But not that you don't trust it, but you be smart about it, right? Because I'm pretty sure that this yarn weight is a little heavier than what I used to write the pattern with. So that is going to cause a difference. So just be smart about it, right? And if you see that you think it's too big, I'll knit a little bit more on this, and then I'll stop and reevaluate before I knit the whole knit. If I think it's going to be big and maybe it's going to be too big for me, I may just keep going because there are a lot of people out there who have larger hands than I do. And this may just go in the gift box and it'll go to somebody who it fits. As long as it's not gigantuous, if it looks like it's going to fit an elephant, then I will just pull it out and I will go down a needle size or 2 to make it look like it should. Does that make sense? I hope so. So anyways, I'm going to keep going and we'll see. So stay tuned. Again, check on Instagram and Facebook for an update. And you'll probably see an update about this again next Monday to see if I frogged it and restarted or if I kept going and how it turned out. But anyways, this is just going to be a simple plain mitten. Nothing fancy, just 2x2 ribbing on DPNs. I'm going to do a nice long cuff so then I could fold it over if I wanted to. Or I just like a long cuff because you don't like, nothing worse than wearing mitts and having a short cuff and having the wind blow up your sleeve and you get cold. So I like a nice long cuff. And then it's just plain stockinette. Round and round and round, a simple decrease at the top. Super simple mitt. So stay tuned and we'll see what happens to the mitt. Daisy has come. All right, to say hello. I'm going to show you a couple of works in progress. This is, well, I have been loving knitting this. I've shown this the last couple of weeks. Can you tell that it's getting bigger? Look at this. This is my European road trip shawl. I finally got my increasing done. I am up to the recommended number of stitches. And I'm thinking my gauge is pretty much right on for this. Not that with a shawl you really need to have dead on gauge, right? Just if your gauge is off, it's just going to be a little wider or a little narrower. And mine, I wasn't going so much by increasing to get the exact number on the stitch. I was going for the width that they called for in the pattern. And it was pretty close on to having the right number of stitches to having the 24 inches. It hasn't fit all on the screen, but that's 24, or pretty darn close. So now I'm just knitting back and forth for miles and miles and miles and stockinette. Very relaxing, very rhythmic. And the best part is I almost have one ball of the pattern stretch sock yarn used up into this shawl. So I need to grab another ball, put it in my project bag because that would be terrible to be out somewhere knitting this and run out of yarn. So I gotta remember to do that. Always be prepared. Now we were talking Oh, last week we were talking about the hitchhiker because I pulled out that ball of hand-dyed yarn, that blue and green hand-dyed yarn, and I was going to do a hitchhiker with it because the ball just spoke to me off the shelf and said, pick me this week. And it literally said, I want to be a hitchhiker. A lot of people left me comments saying that, yes, they've knit hitchhiker, and a lot of people have knit it more than once, which is fantastic compliment for the pattern, right? Because we know, right, there's so many patterns out there that if you take the time to knit something more than once, it has to be a great pattern. And some people had said they'd even made it 3 times. Some people had gifted it. Some had even gifted a couple and kept one for themselves. Other people had it in their queue but hadn't knit it yet. So hopefully, if we're talking about it, it'll encourage some people to go find that one skein of yarn and cast on and knit it up and wear it. I talked about wondering if the hitchhiker was a 1 skein shawl. And I had mine. I showed you. If you didn't see last week's video, this is the pattern. This is the hitchhiker right here. This is one that I have knit years ago. And everybody suggested, Louise, just weigh it. And then I'll know for sure how many grams it took. So let's weigh it. Turn the scale on. And it is, it's 120 grams. So does that mean, and these are 50-gram balls. I used 2. Okay. Maybe I did use more than 100 grams. Maybe I wanted it a little bit longer. Okay. So maybe the mystery still carries on here. Maybe I did do 2 balls, because this isn't 50-gram balls. So if I did 2 50-gram balls, and then maybe I had a 3rd ball, because you guys all know I've got a lot of this Patton's Croy, and maybe I decided to use another half ball and make it a little bit longer. Well, we will see, because I only have 1 ball of that hand-dyed yarn, so we'll have to compare at the end when I get that hitchhiker done to this and see size-wise if it's comparable. Anyways, I hope that this shawl was going to kind of clear this up. I wanted this shawl to say, excuse me, that it was 102 grams, and then we'd know for sure it was 1 ball. But obviously, I did do a little bit more. Okay, well, we'll just wait and see. I guess the best way to know is I will knit it again, and we'll see where we end up. Somebody else asked, we were talking about the stretch sock yarn, and somewhere along the line, either on the Fiber Friends podcast, or it was here, or on Ravelry, Facebook, Instagram, somehow we were talking about the stretch sock yarn, and I said that I had started a sweater in it, and a couple people had asked. They said they would love to see what the sweater looks like. So my sweater is not done. This is a really, really old work in progress. Well, really, really old. Well, like 10 years probably. Anyways, this is it. So it is a cardigan. It has no sleeves. The body's done. And it has a shawl collar. So you can see, and it's shaped down the front here. So it'll fold over like this. But I do have the front band on here. I've got the collar done. The 2 fronts and the back are done. And I can tell there's a seam here. So I have mattress stitched the front and back of both shoulders. But there are no sleeves. And I didn't exactly come across any more of this yarn or the bag. I can picture, I know this was in a project bag, but I haven't found the project bag either, so I'm not going to panic too much. But yes, surely to goodness, I have a few balls of this yarn. I know it was all together, but I haven't found the pattern either. The pattern, thanks to Chris, she left a message on, I think it was the Fiber Friends podcast. She left a message saying, yes, she remembered this because Chris started this sweater with me. It was our guild knit along one summer, and it was a nitty.com pattern. And I believe the sweater pattern was called Flaming June. And a bunch of us cast it on, and I think only a few of them finished it. I did not finish it, but maybe I will. But when I started thinking about this sweater, I thought, oh my gosh, I did this so many years ago that there's no way this would ever fit me. But now I'm being a little bit hopeful that there is a lot of stretch in this fabric. And if I don't try to do the front of the cardigan up, if I let it hang open, maybe I will be able to wear it. But you know what? I don't know. The sleeve depth will be different for different sizes. So this may be where I get stuck. When I pick up the stitches around this armhole and start to knit the sleeve, I wonder if the sleeve is just going to be a little too snug. I don't know. Anyways, when I find the yarn, I almost said if I find the yarn, but I will find the yarn. When I find the yarn for this sweater, I'm gonna finish these sleeves. Now I know where the pattern is. It's on nitty.com, so I can always print off another pattern. But I was gonna say I could wing the sleeves if I needed to. Big thing is it would be nice to know what needle size I used. It would be really nice if I found a sleeve started somewhere. Maybe the sleeve started at the cuff and worked the way up. Thinking if there was a needle on a sleeve somewhere cast on with a few more balls of yarn, that would make this whole process so much easier. Anyways, we'll see. But look this is the stretch yarn knit up, and the bottom of the sweater kind of has this little point. It's like a mitered square kind of point on each side. And I really like how this yarn striped up. For sock yarn, there was no pooling. It just striped really nicely. So it'll be interesting to see what the sleeves are like since the circumference is a lot smaller. So it'll be a bit thicker stripes. See if there's any pooling there. I don't know. But anyways, that's it, guys. So this yarn can be used for socks. There was one lovely knitter left a comment saying that they had I never thought about using that stretch sock yarn for anything else other than socks. And my comment back was, I had never even really considered using it for socks. As soon as I saw it, I thought sweaters for this yarn. And I have a considerable stash in a few different colors, so I can make a few more sweaters. I think they'd make a great spring and summer sweater because the yarn is half cotton. It's cotton and a wool blend with some nylon. I think that might be it, guys. 2 new patterns for projects for this week, my super simple dishcloth and my mittens. So I'm going to play around with the size on that. The dishcloth, you know what I did not show you, and I don't have it with me. I don't have it here with me. My dishcloth from last week. I showed you the yarn. Did I show you the yarn? It was the yellow, I love this cotton in the sunshine colorway. Oh, okay, I have to admit this. I'm a little behind on my dishcloth knitting, guys. For my 52 for the Yarn Hoarders Dishcloth Challenge, my 1 a week, I did not get my dishcloth finished. And that's okay. I'm not panicking. Because remember I said how I tried casting it on last week, and every time I cast on, I just kept mucking up the pattern, and I just put it away, and I literally went to bed. Anyway, I didn't get it cast on until Friday, I think I cast it on. Which just kind of proves my whole point around why I want to do these New Start Mondays. Because I have this kind of motto that I'm living by. If I don't start it, I can't finish it. And I think this dishcloth really, really proved that point this week. Because I didn't get it started on Monday, I didn't have it for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every time I had some knitting time those days, I picked up my European road trip shawl because it was already on the needles. It was started. I could just pick this up and I could just knit. Every time I thought about the dishcloth, I was like, oh, yeah, it didn't work the last time. I don't think I have time, to think about, I'm just like, it's too much trouble. I'll just work on what is already on the needles. But then once I had, it took me 10 minutes to get it cast on, get the pattern wrote out, and now it's working fine and it looks fantastic. It's a really, really, really cute stitch. So I'll make a note to show that to you next Monday because it better be finished. But you know what? There again, I am not stressing over the fact that I didn't get it done this week. I've got a good start on it. The pattern's going well. Whatever was going wrong with it before, I've got those kinks worked out. Easy peasy. So I was going to leave the pattern in the drop down box for you, but since I don't have it here to show you, I will do that next week. So I will leave you in anticipation and how my bee stitch dishcloth is turning out. I think that wraps up everything that I wanted to share with you. So as always, I love chatting with you guys in the comments. If you like these videos and want to know when I upload them right directly to YouTube, if you want to get notified, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to get all the notifications. And leave me some comments. Let me know what you're working on, what dishcloths you're working on. Do you have a favorite mitten pattern? I don't know. Anything you want to discuss, leave me a comment and I answer every comment that is there, so I would love to chat with you. If you want to start something new this week and knit along with me over on Instagram, you can tag me on Instagram at Wildflower Wool, and you can use the hashtag newstartmondayknits, and I can follow along your progress on Instagram. All right, everybody, that is it for me. I am going to go find some probably 3.5 millimeter needles to start my dishcloth. I'm going to knit a few more rounds on my mitt and make an educated guess. Do I keep going? Do I pull it out? Do I find new needles? And then I will check in again with you next Monday. I will have 2 new starts and I'll show you a few updates on what I've been working on this week. So have a fantastic knitting week, everybody. I hope you find lots of time to sit down and get a few rows in, and maybe you'll want to start something new along with me. All right, everybody, happy knitting, and I will see you next Monday.